Usman's going to walk in there saying, suddenly I feel religious. And he's going to throw him in a crucifix. It's going to look like Chamoyev all over again. Let me see. Adesanya was battering DDP on the feet, and it didn't stop him. So Adesanya is he's a one-trick pony. And it may be a good pony. I mean, you got My Little Pony. Ponies could be very famous and beloved. But it's still a one-trick pony. He got as far as he did with that one trick, and that's fine. But and again, I'm gonna dive into this in the video that I'm gonna upload in a little bit. But when someone like Dricus is fighting someone like Adesanya, Dricus knows he's not gonna take me down. Adesanya's not gonna try to heel hook me. He's not gonna double leg me and try to put me in an Americana. He's only gonna do this with me. So that allows Dricus to whip something out. That puts him in a place where he goes to a certain place within his tool set. And that puts him in a position where he'll sting and bang a certain way. And I'm not saying, Dricus does appear to have a good chin. So that still exists. You got to give him that credit. But the difference with Usman is Usman's going to be setting the pace fighting behind that crisp, snappy jab. And the whole time, Dricus is going to be anticipating and be anxious and worried about that takedown. Dricus that wasn't even in the realm of possibility when Dricus was fighting Adesanya. So Usman doesn't have to be formidable on the feet. Like if Adesanya put a beating on DDP and DDP still took it, okay, DDP has a great chin. But Usman's not going to be trying to accomplish the same thing on the feet as Adesanya was. Because Adesanya's going to try to do that and, oh, shoot, this isn't working. The guy could take a punch. And now Adesanya's stuck. Which is probably why he's leaving CKB right now, among other reasons. But with Usman, all he has to do is stay behind that jab, set a good enough pace, throw some beautiful feints. I'm saying that because I saw him doing it earlier when I was watching all his fights. He throws beautiful feints and go for the takedown. Now, Dricus Du Plessis' takedown defense, I wanted to say it's atrocious, but it's non-existent. And it's not just because I know it's easy to say when you see him versus Chamoyev, but the way, especially after seeing the Chamoyev and Strickland fight, the way that you see Chamoyev take him down, you'd have to believe it's not even just because it's Chamoyev. Again, especially after seeing the Strickland fight, he just has no takedown defense. And I don't know where this narrative about him being I understand. So there's MMA fans out there and UFC fans. But for me, it's even more pathetic than that. Because, and I have a hard time trying to word this all the time. Because it's like, what is this even called? Is it a job? I don't know. But there's MMA fans, UFC fans, I understand. They watch it, they're fans, they follow people. But for me, it's like I said, much more pathetic. I go really deep and I have to research a lot more because I have to have the nerve to turn on a camera and talk about it as if I know anything, right? So I know that Dricus Du Plessis, when he was a child, started doing judo. And then he started doing wrestling after that. And then he started doing kickboxing way later. So I know he has a judo base. I know he has a wrestling base. But again, that was like as a child. He went on to kickboxing and then that became his life and his main thing and his real, like, as an adult foundation. I mean, some of you in here probably wrestled when you were 8 years old and if you don't wrestle into your collegiate years and all that, it's kind of like, so what? I played 1 year of badminton or whatever. But I've been hearing this narrative lately about his wrestling. Oh, he's pretty formidable on the ground. What about his wrestling? I can't remember who said it. Somebody was talking about how they think his wrestling cancels out Usman's. That is devious. That is just like disrespectful to the viewers and the fans. To say that Dricus's grappling or wrestling evens out Usman's? It's like if they've never watched any of either of their fights. And I was trying to find this grappling that they were talking about. And one of the best examples I kept hearing about was Dricus versus Strickland in the first fight. And Dricus took him down, I think, 5 times? I don't know. Took him down a good handful of times. And it was like the floor was lava. Strickland just kept getting back up. Dricus had, it was a kind of takedown where, like, if you're really rooting for a fighter, you're like, oh, there was a takedown. And everyone else is like, no, that doesn't count. He got right back up. You're like, no, but it was a takedown, and the takedown is a takedown. It was one of those pathetic, like, okay, I think, got his knees down, but then he got up, like, immediately, like, does that count? And I don't know why. I don't know if they're trying to even out betting or what. It's I think disrespectful is the best word. Trying to compare Dricus's grappling to Usman's. Maybe he could get a takedown because of a lot of the balance and wrestling that he acquired in his younger years and foot placement and some trips or whatever. But once he's there, it was like, I don't know what to do now. And I see that Dricus had some submissions or whatever. He has a submission as, against Darren Till, a guy that had to resort to boxing. He's like, forget the ground game. Let me just box. That's who he submitted, by the way, in the UFC. And before that, it was out of the promotion. It wasn't top level, world-class competition. So I'm not concerned about how Adesanya looked on the feet with Dricus and not being able to rock him, because Usman doesn't need to do that. Usman, what he has is the threat of the takedown, which is going to make Dricus fight different on the feet. So forget even being on the ground. They're not even on the ground yet. Having the threat of the takedown is already going to alter the way Dricus fights on the feet. That's already going to alter his striking. And that's just the thought of it. Now when they're actually on the ground, dude, it's over. Usman's going to walk in there saying, suddenly I feel religious. And he's going to throw him in a crucifix. It's going to look like Chamoyev all over again.